In the vast and unfathomable ocean of esoteric thought and forgotten history, few narratives capture the imagination and the heart with the force of a star song. It is the chronicle of the Pleiadians. Their name resonates in the consciousness of our time, not as a distant and alien echo, but as a familiar note, a latent memory that vibrates in the depths of our soul. Today, traveler of consciousness, you who have looked at the night sky and felt an inexplicable nostalgia, a sense of belonging to a place beyond this world, we embark together on a sacred journey, not to explore the cold astronomy of a star cluster, but to unveil the story of a highly advanced and benevolent civilization, a story that, according to the chronicles of the Spirit, is inseparable from our own. What you are about to hear is not a simple legend. It is the synthesis of a complex cosmology, woven from channeled wisdom and the deep research of many explorers of consciousness in our time. A cosmology that seeks to redefine our origins, our purpose, and our glorious destiny. It presents the Pleiadians not as mere visitors from another world, but as our ancestral progenitors, our cosmic guides, and in many cases, as the very essence of the souls who have chosen to incarnate on Earth at this crucial time. We do not seek here to validate these claims against the cold steel of conventional science, but to present a coherent and profound exploration of this sacred tradition as it is understood in its own paradigm. I invite you to listen not only with your mind, but with your heart, with that part of you that recognizes truth through resonance. Because if you feel an echo of familiarity in these words, you should know it is no accident. It is the awakening of a memory. It is the remembrance of your own stellar lineage.
To understand who the Pleiadians are, we must first raise our gaze to the stars, to the tapestry of the night, where their history is written in cosmic fire. Their narrative is firmly anchored in a specific galactic context, detailing not only their current home, but an ancestral lineage that directly connects them to the dawn of humanoid life in our galaxy. And it is this foundational story, this journey through the eons, that illuminates their deep and enduring relationship with humanity. In the constellation of Taurus, at a distance our science measures between 440 and 500 light-years, shines a cluster of young blue stars, known since antiquity as the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. According to cosmic chronicles, it is here that the heart of the Pleiadian civilization resides. Their main home world is a planet of exquisite beauty named Era, which, we are told, orbits the star Taygeta, one of the 7 brightest jewels of the cluster. Imagine for a moment a world that exists on a higher frequency than ours, a realm where light itself seems denser, more conscious, where colors sing and the air vibrates with a palpable harmony. A world that, to be perceived directly by a human being, would require an elevation of one's own consciousness, an attunement to its vibrational song. This specific astronomical location provides a tangible reference point in the cosmos, an anchor in physical reality that distinguishes the Pleiadian narrative from purely mythological or ethereal realms, lending it an appearance of plausibility that resonates deeply with the modern seeker. It is not an abstract heaven, but a place on the map of the stars. But the history of the Pleiadians extends much further back in time, to a distant and often tragic past in the constellation of Lyra. It is postulated that the Lyrans were one of the oldest and most advanced humanoid civilizations in our galaxy, the true ancestors of our physical form. They were a race of explorers and creators, but their history is also marked by conflict.
A series of devastating galactic wars, conflicts of a scale and ferocity we can barely conceive, ravage their civilization, forcing peaceful factions of Lyrans to flee their home world to preserve their lineage and their philosophy of peace. They became cosmic refugees, seeking a new home among the stars. After a long and arduous journey through the vastness of the cosmos, a significant group of these Lyran survivors arrived at the young and promising Pleiades cluster, approximately in the year 228,000 BCE. And it was there, on the planet Ura, that they established a new and magnificent civilization, vowing to build a society based on the principles they had learned through suffering, peace, harmony, and the avoidance of war and aggression at all costs. This background of ancestral conflict, of loss and a new beginning establishes a deep and moving historical context. It positions the Pleiadians not as a perfect race from their origin, but as heirs of an ancient legacy, as souls who have known the pain of war and who, for that reason, have become the most fervent defenders of peace. Their story is one of redemption. The descriptions of the Pleiadians, transmitted through various sources, are remarkably consistent, painting a portrait of beings who are an exquisite fusion of refined physicality and a higher light vibration. Physically, they are repeatedly described as tall, slender humanoid beings of an almost ethereal beauty, often with features that on Earth we would associate with the Nordic phenotype. Fair and luminous skin, hair ranging from golden blonde to shining silver, and striking eyes, large and expressive, of a deep blue or a hypnotic violet that seem to contain the wisdom of the stars. Their presence is described as elegant and graceful, often surrounded by a visible aura of light, a crown of energy that denotes their advanced vibrational nature and purity of intention.
But perhaps the key concept to understanding their nature is that they are, fundamentally, beings of light. They exist in a higher dimension or vibrational state than our three-dimensional reality. They are 5D, 7D, or even 9D beings, capable of densifying their vibration to interact with worlds like ours. This idea masterfully unites the physical and the metaphysical, suggesting that their physicality is contingent, a choice, a controlled manifestation of their consciousness, and not a limitation like ours. Thanks to their advanced control over mental, spiritual, and biological energies, they possess extraordinary longevity, with an average lifespan that reportedly reaches 700 Earth years, maintaining a youthful and vital appearance for most of their existence. The consistent description of the Pleiadians as aesthetically pleasing humanoid beings with direct ancestral ties to humanity through Lyra serves a crucial and profound narrative function. It does not position them as other aliens, strange and potentially threatening, but as an idealized elder race, as our cosmic cousins. This narrative is not one of a first contact with strangers, but of a long-awaited cosmic family reunion. And this framework fosters a deep sense of belonging and cosmic meaning for those who feel a connection to this lineage, making their esoteric teachings deeply personal and transformative. The core of the Pleiadian tradition lies not simply in their existence or their distant utopia, but in their active, loving, and benevolent purpose in relation to our planet and to each of us. The various sources converge on a central idea. The Pleiadians have a specific and sacred mission on Earth, a mission they have upheld through the eons to act as guides, spiritual mentors, and catalysts for the evolution of human consciousness. The primary mission of the Pleiadians is to guide and assist humanity in its process of spiritual ascension, a quantum leap in consciousness. This process is often described as helping the Earth and its inhabitants transition from a three-dimensional reality based on duality, fear, and separation to a fourth or fifth dimension based on unity, unconditional love, and harmony.
This mission is not a whim, but is driven by their deep commitment to the well-being of humanity and the planet, which they consider a place of crucial importance for the development of life and consciousness in this galaxy, a living library of unparalleled genetic and emotional diversity. There are those who channel the Pleiadians, stating that this help is especially critical and has intensified in the current era due to a continuous influx of high-frequency cosmic light that is bathing our solar system, making healing and transformation on an unprecedented scale possible. We find ourselves, according to them, in a unique window of opportunity to free ourselves from old cycles of suffering and reclaim our divine heritage. An absolutely fundamental and deeply personal concept in the Pleiadian narrative is that of starseeds. This idea postulates that many human souls currently living on Earth did not originate here. They are ancient souls who come from the Pleiades and other advanced star systems like Lyra, Sirius, Arcturus, or Orion. These brave souls would have voluntarily incarnated on Earth at this moment in history, accepting the veil of forgetfulness and the challenges of life in the third dimension, to fulfill a specific mission, to help raise the spiritual vibration of the planet from within. They act as beacons of light, as anchors of consciousness, as catalysts for awakening, simply by living their truth and maintaining a frequency of love and compassion in the midst of density. How to know if you are one of these souls? There are those who have explored the common traits attributed to Pleiadian starseeds. These include a deep and sometimes overwhelming empathy, a persistent feeling of being different, of not quite fitting into the social structures and expectations of Earth, a profound and often painful longing for a home they cannot name,
an innate and reverent connection with nature, animals, and beauty, and a natural and magnetic fascination with spirituality, the cosmos, healing, and the mysteries of existence. If any of this resonates with you, perhaps it is not a simple fantasy. The narrative of the star seeds is transformative because it changes the idea of extraterrestrial contact from an external event, the sighting of a ship in the sky, to an internal process of self-discovery and remembrance. This makes the Pleiadian experience personally accessible to anyone. It is no longer about seeing a Pleiadian, it is about the possibility of being one. This shift in perspective is immensely empowering. It turns the individual into a direct and crucial participant in the cosmic drama, rather than a passive observer or a victim of circumstances. It aligns perfectly with the emphasis of modern spirituality on journeys of self-discovery and self-realization. In their sacred mission, the Pleiadians do not operate alone or capriciously. They are part of a collective and hierarchical guidance structure. The sources frequently mention entities such as the Pleiadian High Council and the broader Council of Light. The latter is described as a team of ascended masters, beings of light from higher dimensions, angelic collectives, and benevolent spiritual guides from across the galaxy, including the Pleiadians. They act as the great conductors of a divine orchestra, harmonizing universal energies and overseeing the ascension plan of developing planets like ours. However, there is a fundamental principle, an inviolable cosmic law that governs all their interactions, the law of free will. We are repeatedly told that they cannot intervene directly in human affairs without our explicit permission. They cannot land in mass and solve our problems, because that would violate our learning process and our sovereignty as a species. This recurring theme of non-interference serves a critical narrative and spiritual function. It explains why, despite their immense power and loving intentions, they do not simply put an end to war, hunger, and injustice in our world. The responsibility for action ultimately rests with human beings themselves, and this reinforces the central themes of self-empowerment, responsibility, and co-creation. It transforms humanity from an infantile species waiting to be rescued to an adult species responsible for its own salvation, albeit with a loving and powerful cosmic guidance available at all times if only we learn to ask for it from a unified heart. The descriptions of Pleiadian civilization, as they are transmitted to us, paint a picture of a social and spiritual utopia, a society that has transcended the conflicts, divisions, and limitations that define much of the current human experience. This vision is not just for our admiration. It serves as both an inspiration and a possible model, a blueprint for the luminous future they propose for the new Earth. The Pleiadian society, in its essence, is described as one that operates with love, ideas, and ideals that are largely unknown to our current society. Their culture is goddess-centered, which does not imply female domination, but a deep respect and balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies. A society based on harmony, creativity, beauty, and peace. Their fundamental philosophy is that of unity consciousness, a profound recognition, not just intellectual but cellular, of the inherent interconnectedness of all life with the divine source, with the all that is. This holistic approach permeates every aspect of their existence, from personal relationships to social structure, education, and art. They live in a state of constant communion with nature, with the cosmos, and with each other. How is such an advanced society governed? We are told that it functions without wars, without armies, without a political system based on competition and power. And perhaps most surprising for our mindset, it functions without an economic system based on money, debt, or the accumulation of material possessions. All needs are met for all individuals. Advanced technology and unity consciousness ensure that abundance flows freely. Individuals dedicate only a few hours a day to the work necessary for the community's maintenance, employing the vast majority of their time and energy in the pursuit of creativity, the development of their talents, spiritual growth, and joyful service to others. Governance is handled by a high council, a body of wise and ancient beings who disseminate information and guidance to all their planets. And they, in turn, rely on the counsel and wisdom of even more advanced beings from other parts of the galaxy, such as the Andromeda Galaxy. It is a hierarchy of wisdom, not of power. Perhaps the key technological and biological element that sustains this astonishing social harmony is their innate and fully developed telepathic ability. By being able to communicate directly through thought, emotion, and pure intention, the possibility of deceit, corruption, misunderstandings, and political manipulation is eliminated at its root. Imagine a world where the truth of each person is transparent to all. Telepathy is not simply a superpower in their society. It is the biological and spiritual foundation that makes their utopian social contract possible. And this carries a profound implication for us. It suggests that for humanity to reach a similar state of harmony and lasting peace, political or economic reforms are not enough. A radical evolution of our own consciousness and our way of communicating is a prerequisite, a transition from the mind to the heart. The Pleiadian philosophy is simple in its essence, but profound in its implications. They teach that everything in the universe is energy in different states of vibration, that consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain, but the fundamental substance from which all reality emerges, and that, therefore, we, as sparks of that universal consciousness, are co-creators of our own reality through the frequency we hold with our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. They emphasize the importance of living in harmony with the natural rhythms of the universe, of honoring the cycles of life, and of recognizing our sacred role as cosmic guardians of the planet we inhabit. Their philosophy is eminently practical and empowering.
It encourages self-knowledge, personal responsibility, living from the authenticity of the heart, and above all, the recognition of the divinity that resides within each person. The description of Pleiadian society inevitably functions as a utopian mirror that serves as a direct, though loving critique of contemporary human society. While our experience is often marked by war, inequality, fierce competition, and environmental destruction, Pleiadian society is defined by the total absence of these problems. Therefore, the Pleiadian narrative is not just the description of a fascinating alien world. It is a projection of our highest aspirations and the reflection of our most painful failures, presenting us with a clear and inspiring goal for that new Earth that so many long to build. The Pleiadian narrative is not limited to their star system, but is deeply, intimately, and inseparably intertwined with the hidden, unwritten history of our own planet. The various sources detail a very long history of interaction, dating back hundreds of thousands of years, in which the Pleiadians acted as spiritual sowers, genetic engineers, and loving guides for the first and fragile civilizations of humanity. One of the most significant and moving connections is established with the legendary and dreamlike civilization of Lemuria. There are channeled chronicles that state that in the antiquity of that golden age, the women of ancient Lemuria, due to their intuitive and receptive nature, were instructed directly in the fundamental spiritual truths by the Pleiadian star mothers. This teaching establishes a direct, gendered, and deeply nurturing link between the Pleiadians and one of the most important foundational lost civilizations of Earth. The emphasis on the star mothers aligns perfectly with the description of Pleiadian society as goddess-centered, and with the contemporary revaluation of the wisdom and power of the divine feminine, which has been suppressed for so long on our planet. Lemuria, under Pleiadian tutelage, became a beacon of harmony, intuition, and connection with the Earth. The Pleiadian influence, however, extended far beyond Lemuria. It is said that they were deeply involved in the development of various civilizations throughout history, including the powerful and technologically advanced Atlantis and the mystical cultures of the Mayans and Incas in the Americas. Researchers highlight how numerous ancient cultures around the world, including the Hopi, the Mayans, the Cherokee, the ancient Hawaiians, and the pre-dynastic Egyptians, preserve in their myths and oral traditions detailed and surprisingly similar connections between their ancestors and gods who came from the Pleiades. Research on the shining beings, those civilizing gods, tall, fair-skinned, with advanced knowledge, who appeared in different parts of the world after a great global flood, share astonishing descriptive parallels with the Pleiadian narrative, suggesting a possible link. Were these gods the Pleiadians themselves, or survivors of Atlantis instructed by them, who embarked on a mission to reseed civilization in a devastated world?
This narrative of Pleiadian influence on a wide range of ancient cultures, seemingly disconnected from each other by vast oceans and millennia, creates a unified and global spiritual history for humanity. It reinterprets the world's mythologies not as isolated and primitive tales, but as different dialects of a single cosmic truth, a primordial wisdom sown on earth by these benevolent visitors from the stars. To carry out their mission of guidance, the Pleiadians, we are told, have acted as the great galactic historians, maintaining a complete and detailed record of human evolution on Earth and of all the cosmic events that have affected it. This vast and unimaginable repository of knowledge is accessible through what is known as the Akashic Records, an etheric compendium, a field of vibrational information which contains the record of all events, thoughts, and emotions of all time. There are those in our time who claim to have the ability to access these galactic Akashic records to obtain detailed information about the suppressed cosmic history and the soul origins of each individual. This positions channeled knowledge not as a fantasy, but as the recovery of lost data from a higher source, more complete and more reliable than conventional historical records, which are often fragmentary, biased, or deliberately altered. The Pleiadians, in this view, are the librarians of our true history. The Pleiadian narrative does not unfold in a vacuum of peace and love, but in the context of a cosmic drama of epic proportions, a struggle that has been waged through the eons between forces of light and forces of control and darkness.
It is a war that is not fought primarily with ships and weapons, but for the consciousness of developing species. In this galactic conflict, the Pleiadians are presented as key protagonists, as warriors of light on the side of liberation, awakening, and the ascension of humanity. A central theme, prominently articulated in many streams of esoteric thought, is the existence of a fundamental conflict between the benevolent Pleiadian agenda and the controlling and often selfish Anunnaki deviation. The Anunnaki, as we have explored in other chronicles, are often associated with the planet Nibiru and led by the figure of Anu. They are described as a force that, in its most negative factions, seeks to manipulate humanity through fear, genetic control, the suppression of knowledge, and the promotion of materialism and division. Conversely, the Pleiadian mission is to actively counteract this dark influence. They seek to guide humanity toward love, light, and a higher consciousness, helping us to remember our true divine nature and to free ourselves from these ancient systems of control that have kept the planet in a state of amnesia and suffering for millennia. This narrative of a benevolent and luminous spiritual force, the Pleiadians, helping humanity to awaken from the control of manipulative and matter-oriented entities, the Anunnaki, is a clear and fascinating parallel to the ancient Gnostic cosmology. Gnosticism postulated a true and transcendent God and a lesser creator, often ignorant or malevolent, the Demiurge, who created the material world as a prison for the divine spark trapped within human beings. In this modern framework, the Pleiadians assume the role of emissaries from the higher realms of light, while the Anunnaki, often linked to the creation of humanity for slave labor, function as the archetype of the Demiurge. The ascension of humanity, therefore, is equivalent to gnosis, the direct and liberating knowledge that awakens the soul from the illusions and bonds of the material world.
In this cosmic struggle for the soul of the earth, the Pleiadians are not alone. They are part of a vast alliance or galactic federation that includes many other benevolent and spiritually advanced races, such as the wise Arcturians, the majestic Sirians, and the visionary Andromedans. It is said that the Arcturians and the Pleiadians were the first guiding forces of humanity, involved in the initial genetic experiments that led to our creation, always with the intention of fostering great spiritual potential. The main adversaries in this galactic war are often identified as the Draconians, from the constellation Draco, and various reptilian factions. They are described as beings of immense antiquity, technologically very advanced, but who operate from a consciousness of service to self, based on domination, hierarchy, and control. There are those who recount a vast galactic history of a continuous war between the Pleiadian alliance and these forces of darkness, a war that has been fought for millennia and has had the Earth as one of its most important stages. This conflict is not simply a physical war in space, but a subtle and covert battle for consciousness, for the evolutionary direction of developing species like ours. It is fought on the astral planes, in the corridors of hidden power, and, above all, within the heart and mind of every human being. The technology attributed to the Pleiadians, far from being the cold, external machinery we associate with that word, is intrinsically linked to consciousness, energy, and spirituality. Their tools are, in essence, extensions of their advanced psychic abilities and their deep understanding of universal physics as a manifestation of thought. The Pleiadians, we are told, use spaceships of astonishing beauty and sophistication, often called lightships or motherships, for their interstellar and interdimensional journeys. There are accounts of people who claim to have been taken aboard these ships, not for terrifying experiments, but for processes of deep healing and spiritual education. In addition to ships, they also use a network of portals or stargates, both natural and artificial, to travel instantly across vast distances. This aligns with research on sacred sites on Earth, which suggests that many of them, like Stonehenge or certain Egyptian temples, were designed as portal technology, capable of opening doors to other dimensions. But their most important technology is that which focuses on the evolution of consciousness, the science of ascension. This is based on the direct manipulation of energy, frequency, and information at the quantum level. One of their key methods is DNA activation. They teach that the original human DNA not only had 2 strands, but 12, and that these additional strands, which correspond to our higher spiritual and psychic abilities, were disconnected in a remote past. The Pleiadians, it is claimed, are now helping us to clear karmic blockages and to repattern our DNA to its original divine 12-strand model, thus activating our latent potential for telepathy, clairvoyance, instant healing, and longevity. Another of their gifts is the language of light. It is described as a form of multi-dimensional communication and healing that uses sound, frequency, geometry, and color. It is not a language to be understood by the logical mind, but rather it bypasses the intellect and works directly on the energy body and DNA, transmitting packets of information and healing codes that restore harmony and balance. They also provide, through their messengers, high-vibration numerical sequences and sacred geometry symbols like the 7-pointed star to be used in meditation as tools for healing, protection, and the expansion of consciousness. And in its most advanced form, they teach quantum healing, the ability to consciously reconstruct molecular structures in the quantum field, to manifest new realities, both in the physical body and in the external world. A fundamental teaching that unifies all these practices is that consciousness itself is the primordial technology, the source from which everything else arises. The ability to focus intention, to cultivate self-reflection, and to consciously raise one's own vibrational frequency through emotions like love, gratitude, and compassion is presented as the supreme power.
This power allows individuals to stop being victims of circumstances and to become conscious co-creators of their own reality, in alignment with the divine matrix, that field of intelligent energy that connects all things. The Pleiadian narrative, therefore, constantly reframes and spiritualizes the concept of advancement. It suggests that true technological progress is, and always will be, inseparable from spiritual evolution. And so, after traveling the paths of the stars, the chronicles of lost worlds, and the battles for the soul of creation, we arrive at the heart of the Pleiadian narrative, at their deepest and most personal message for us, here and now. Through the synthesis of these diverse and rich perspectives, the Pleiadians emerge as an ancient and benevolent race of light beings, our spiritual progenitors and cosmic guides. Their society is presented to us as a mirror of our own utopian potential, a vision of what humanity can become when love, harmony, and unity consciousness become the pillars of civilization. Their sacred mission on Earth, which extends over millennia, is to help us in our process of ascension, an awakening that places us at the center of a cosmic drama, where we oppose the forces of control and limitation that have sought to keep us in darkness. And to fulfill this mission, they offer us not weapons, but tools of consciousness, the activation of our DNA, the healing power of the language of light, and the understanding that we are the architects of our own reality. The Pleiadian narrative offers a compelling alternative to both scientific materialism, which often denies the spirit, and traditional religious dogmas, which often demand blind faith. Its immense appeal lies in its ability to provide a sense of cosmic purpose, a noble stellar lineage, and a practical and empowering framework for personal and collective transformation. It addresses the most fundamental human questions. Where do we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? Within an expansive and hopeful galactic context. By reinterpreting mythology, ancient history, and our own biology through an extraterrestrial and spiritual lens, it offers us a sense of belonging to a story much larger, older, and more significant than we had ever been told. Ultimately, the Pleiadian legacy, as it is revealed to us, is not a relic of a distant past, but a living model for a potential future. The constant emphasis on an imminent great awakening, on the activation of our DNA, and on personal and planetary ascension, presents us with a future-oriented spiritual path, a path that is not passive, but deeply participatory. For those who feel the resonance of this story in their heart, the Pleiadians are not merely characters in a science fiction saga. They are active partners in the co-creation of a new era for Earth, an era that will finally be defined by the higher consciousness, lasting peace, and unity that they themselves represent. The story of the Pleiadians, therefore, functions as a potent and luminous modern myth. It reflects humanity's enduring search for connection, for meaning, and for transcendence in a universe that is revealed to us day by day as infinitely vaster, more populated, and more mysterious than we had ever dreamed.
If this journey through the Song of the Seven Sisters has awakened something in you, if you have felt an echo of truth in these words, if an inexplicable feeling of longing and recognition has sprouted in your heart, I invite you to embrace that feeling. It is the whisper of your own soul, reminding you of your cosmic heritage. I invite you to join our community of consciousness explorers by subscribing to this channel. Together, we can continue to unveil the mysteries of our past to illuminate the path to our collective future. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for joining me on this sacred journey. May the wisdom of the Pleiades remind you of the light you carry within, the power that resides in your heart, and the importance of your unique presence on this planet at this precise moment of awakening. Never forget, you are not alone. You are a star seed, a beacon of light in the night, and you have come here with a purpose, and that purpose now is beginning to flourish. May the unfathomable peace that surpasses all understanding, may the profound wisdom that guides your every step, and may the unconditional love that embraces all and heals all of the eternal ages illuminate and abundantly bless your path now and forever. May it be so.
If you liked this content, hit the like button. Share it with someone who might be interested in this topic, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.